Final Fantasy Tactics. The Ivalice Chronicles is a faithful, enhanced version of the legendary tactical RPG that defined the genre back in 1997 on the PlayStation 1. This is the remaster. This is a review in progress. I am the warrior of hype, and I'm about 45 hours into this game. I'm on the final chapter, getting close to beating the game, but I feel like I have a lot to say about it, and we're going to do this review now. And joined with me is the Excalibro, who is also at the same exact spot as me. How many hours are you in, though?
Just over 30.
Just over 30.
Full disclosure, I'm not playing it on tactician mode. I did try that, and I was like, I don't got time for this, bro.
No,
I gotta get into the meat here, so I put it back on night mode. So,
hey, night mode is the standard, which is good. Like, night mode is like, hey, this is the recommended way to play. I went for the tactician mode, and I am obviously 15 more hours in, so at the same exact spot. So let that tell you something. Now, what I want to do is I want to get right into this, man. I want to get right into it. First of all, I gotta say a big shout out to Square Enix for this game is provided by Square Enix, right? So I'm very thankful that they've provided us both with codes to play this game for review, which is awesome. And keyword there is review, so we will be providing our critiques, our criticisms of the game, as well as the pure hype and love that we have for Final Fantasy Tactics. So this is going to be a pretty positive review, I imagine. So what I want to do is I want to get your surface level review so far. What are you thinking so far, Excalibro?
Man, so far I am loving it. It's very much an upgrade from the original, like just kind of across the board. Everything feels very polished. It is, if you played the original or if you played War Alliance, and I did play both, it feels like that, but better, that, but deeper, that, but more polished, right? So, very positive experience with it so far. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, and what's really cool about that is if you liked that classic feel of the game, when you boot it up, it's two different versions that you can choose from. You can choose the remastered Ivalice Chronicles right at the start screen, or you can go with that traditional 1997 classic feel with the War of the Lions PSP translation. So it is that up-to-date translation. It's going to give you that classic experience with the most polished that you can get. Now, the remaster, the Ivalice Chronicles, is the absolute way to go here. It features voice acting. Full voice acting, man, and gosh, the performances for this game that look like this game visually, you might look at it on the surface level and you might think, oh, okay, kind of cartoonish, kind of childish or whatever. You're like, whatever. No. This is a very mature game. I think it is like a perfect companion piece to Final Fantasy 16. Obviously, this is the same team. Creative Studio 3 worked on Final Fantasy 16, and they're bringing this remaster back up to modern day players. And it's got this like that very similar UI pop in, like the boom, like Final Fantasy 16 style. But it's also Game of Thrones, man. This is and I want to say it's Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones was Game of Thrones, but I think you have informed me.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Game of Thrones came out in 96 and this came out in 97. So there may be some inspiration there. Yeah, I'm not mad at it. It's really solid. Like this is a compliment to both things that you would even compare them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
because this, in the story of Final Fantasy Tactics, it is a Game of Thrones. Like it is there's a throne open, and now you have factions fighting over that throne. So if you're, and like with all the twists and all the turns and all the political intrigue, the drama that you would expect from like Game of Thrones, that's in here. And I'm not, and like I said, you might think on surface level looking at this game that it's childish. Nah, man, we got murder. We got blood. Yeah. This game should be rated M, maybe. I don't know.
Betrayals and plot twists and oh my goodness, so many things that you do not expect when you look at characters that have no noses. Am I right?
Right. Exactly. So yeah,
Man.
and the art style is also so like I kind of let's just jump around. Let's jump into the five pillars is what I call our my patented warrior vibe five pillars of review, which would be story, gameplay, audio, visuals, and legacy. Now, when it comes to legacy, Excalibur, this game's already solidified its legacy. I mean, we're talking about a game that came out in 1997 and it's coming out again in 2025. So it's got a legacy, and it's rightfully deserved. I'm so happy that more players will potentially pick this game up and experience it. It is one of the best Final Fantasy games, like out of mainline.
Oh my goodness.
So,
I mean, story wise, it beats a lot of them, you know, and that's a big thing to say. But when you guys play this, you will see what I mean. Like, holy cow.
So, I mean, so when it comes to those visuals, so what you got is this top-down isometric, and they look like diorama. And you're basically battling on that. It's all broken into a grid. You got different elevation changes and terrain that you have to navigate through. Like water slows you down. Going up, like having to jump, you have to increase your jump stat to make it up to a higher spot, or otherwise you have to go around that cliff. There's different job classes that complement that. So obviously there are, I don't know, we're not going to jump into the pun. We're not going to jump into spoiler territories, but you probably have figured it out. That job class will be able to jump really high up there to the top. And there's so much about that, and I want to dive into that as well. But when we're sticking to the visuals of it all, like this diorama, I think the graphics, even though it is a remaster, it looks good on your 4K screen. Like I played it on my 4K 60. I will say that it's hard not to think about what could have been with this game. Whereas like I really think this game deserved that HD 2D remaster that everybody was kind of certain was going to be the case, especially with Triangle Strategy showing us how beautiful that style of a tactics game looks. But it doesn't do any like disservice to the game. Like, so I'm trying to, in the review, I wasn't trying to say, okay, I got to focus on what is in front of me, the game that's in front of me, not what I wanted and I didn't get. But I think it's hard to overlook that, where it's like, man, playing through this, hearing how amazing the story is, and like being reminded of how fantastic this game is, all just in general, and hearing the voice acting, oh my god, like all of the way that this game is being presented, I'm like, man, they could have gone maybe the extra mile and did the HD 2D, or maybe even a full-on like remake this game, because it deserves it. But again, I don't think that takes away from the experience, because to go to that voice acting, like to go to like let's talk about that. The voice performances of this game are top notch, man.
Seriously. So I mean, we were talking about this before, but so this game has Ben Starr in it, and you guys know Ben Starr is a great voice actor. And one of the things that I said to Dan earlier was that what's crazy is that his performance doesn't stand out as like so much better than everybody else's or anything like that. Like across the board, you're getting really good performances. And Joe Pitts, who voices the main character Ramza, absolutely great job. I feel like he really captures the character and brings life to somebody who you are embodying, right? Like this is your player character. So he does a really good job of that.
Yeah, and like, I mean, the shout out to Emily Carey, who does Alma, as well as Eleanor Bennett, who does Ovelia. God, like, the whole cast, man, the whole cast is just top notch performances. That, like, again, when you're looking at this and you see the text boxes pop up, you have a certain mindset here where you're like, okay, this is the standard. They have kind of done something with the standard of like the text box speech bubbles popping up and then having a performance that is so believable and so like they're like giving it their all. I'm like, oh my god, You can't even see because you got the little mouth flaps on the character portrait. That's all you really get is the mouth flap on the character portrait. But the way that they're delivering the performance, it's you can see it, but you can't
feel it.
You can feel it. Yeah, you can feel it.
Man, like, I can tell you when I play a text-based RPG, like I read pretty quick, and so I'm just scrolling, I'm scrolling, and with this, it's like I've already read it, but man, like I want to hear this performance, right? Like I don't want to skip anything because it's really just so good. It adds a layer to it that just transcends the writing itself. Like that's what a good, voice performance is supposed to do.
Absolutely, man. I'm actually the same exact way. Usually you want to just kind of, all right, I've already read ahead before the voice actor is able to get the words out. You just skip ahead. No, like there's a button that you can actually press, and I think it enhances the experience tremendously. So if you just press the X button or a square button on PlayStation or whatever, but you press that button and it auto proceeds, so you can put the controller down and you don't have to worry about cycling through the text bubbles. The scene unfolds, and that's my preferred way to do it. Just let the scene unfold. The timing on the storytelling is great. Everything just kind of works flawlessly, seamlessly, rather than like feeling like there's a break in the conversation. No, everything's working great. So there's that. I think the presentation of the story is just top notch, and really when it comes to the pillar of the story pillar, and we talked about how this is one of the best Final Fantasy stories, and even in the main line included, and we talked about how Game of Thrones like it is, how Final Fantasy 16 companion piece, Final Fantasy 12 obviously as well. I don't know if I said that, but the Ivalice Chronicles, Final Fantasy 12 takes place in Ivalice. So if you're a fan of Final Fantasy 12, I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Tactics, but definitely you'll enjoy this one as well. Now, so it's hard to talk about the story without getting into spoilers, and we are absolutely not going to get into spoilers in this review. So we can kind of just move on. I feel like saying all of that is all there is to really say, right? I mean, if you're not sold,
we could draw
on that,
comparisons. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's like you are going to be getting Final Fantasy Game of Thrones with this. That is exactly what you're getting, and I mean that every sequence that you play, you're going to be getting plot twists. You're going to be getting mystery. You're going to be getting, murder, betrayal. Unexpected alliances. You're going to get this whirlwind of story that is unpredictable, and it's really well written.
Yes, agreed. And all right, so this is how the pillars kind of like they're all supporting the game, right? Like on top. So the story is freaking standing strong. But then I will say, as a little critique for the audio. So when it comes to the audio, and you have like these what Excalibur was saying about like murder and all, like most of these scenes end on a very serious note. Like I mean a very like this is every scene is very serious. So that's what you're getting. I think I did laugh on a side quest. They had a side quest that I was like, oh, there are a little bit of humor, but it is definitely the vibe of 16 where it's very serious. But most of them end on a serious note, and then it goes out to the world map, and it's like, and you're just like, okay, well, that didn't the balance.
There's a tonal shift. Yeah, some of the music. It's funny that you said that, because I do agree that some of the music does not seem to match the tone at different points, and I realize that this is. It's not a remake, it's a remaster, and it's staying true to the original. But I agree. There are some moments in there where there is a bit of clash. And that's not to say that any of these tracks are bad. They're all great tracks, but we're talking about tone. We're not,
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about Final Fantasy as well, where like when you're playing Final Fantasy, you kind of want that, like the music is such an important part of a Final Fantasy game. And I will say that it was all good to great. All the music is good to great. It is definitely it's not bad at all by any means. It's just not there.
It's great.
Like it's great. And it's just I think when we get into if I were to get really critical about it, it was just be like there was no tracks that really stood out to me. Like there's nothing that when I think back, I'm not thinking of boom dun 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 boom 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 boom. You know, I'm not thinking of that where it's the music kind of takes a back seat here. It feels like, or it's more of a supportive, not like the starring role like in most Final Fantasies. So as far as audio goes, for me, it goes down to like that the OST is good to great, but the voice performances like more than like support this game.
Yeah.
As top notch. In fact, it's some of the best voice acting I've heard in a long time. I'll just straight up say it.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to throw in real quick
mhm.
that some of these battle tracks, some of these boss tracks do get stuck in my head, and I do absolutely love them. And I think
Good.
part of the contrast here is so Final Fantasy Tactics, you can guess, is a tactical game. So you spend a lot of time in menus, and the menu music is very
Uh,
different than the combat music. And so it sort of creates this dichotomy of experience. So it's very sort of cheerful while you're setting everything up, and you're going to spend a fair amount of time doing that
yes.
if you really get to the nitty gritties on your characters because they give you so much control. And we'll talk about that a little bit here in a minute. But um, my personal experience, I love the combat tracks. I love a lot of the story tracks, but they do contrast very differently from the overworld map, from the menus, that kind of thing. And you spend a lot of time in there. So
Yeah. Agreed. I agree. So like let's dive into that then. Talking about spending so much time in the menus, this is definitely a game that you're going to be spending time in the menus because you have job classes, you have your job trees really, and you start off
yes,
as either a squire or a chemist. And depending on if you want to go down the mage route, you got to go chemist, and chemist will throw items. They're the item guy basically. So they have all the items, and that's right, they're the only ones that can use items until you unlock that ability. So this is not like your other Final Fantasies where everybody can use an item. No, no, no. The chemist is your item master. So if you want to be able to use items during this game, you have to be able to unlock each individual item. So you have to earn job points to be able to use the ability potion, to be able to use the ability Phoenix Down, and things like that. So you
yep,
have to unlock each individual item, and then you earn enough job points. And let's say you want to keep those items going. Well, what's great about that, you can upgrade your job. So you'll go from chemist to either white mage or black mage. And if you want to bring the items with you, well, that will be your secondary ability. But your job class that you have is your primary ability, and you have to have that. You're locked in with whatever your job
yes,
class. So you carry over the items, but then it gets a little more interesting once you start unlocking more job classes. You're like, well, do I ditch the items and go with the black magic with the next job class? And you know, you're kind of it's a
yeah,
lot of figuring that out on what you want your party composition to be like.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So I'm going to give like a quick little crash course.
sure.
So Dan gave you guys a great setup. You're starting with Squire or Chemist, and so you have sort of this like physical um, combat style, and then you have more of this like magical combat style, and those branch down into different job classes, like you said. But what makes this interesting and what gives all this depth is so you unlock action abilities. So, like Dan said, you could become a black mage who can then use items, right? But you also unlock reaction abilities. So, different jobs may teach you to do a counter attack or counter by healing yourself or using a potion. You have support abilities, which are things that like allow you to earn more job points or use some of the more obscure abilities that some of these classes have. Like, for example, you might imagine that a monk doesn't use weapons but still does a lot of damage. Well, you can unlock that ability to do damage without needing a weapon, right? With just your fist. So there's a
Yes.
variety of support abilities. There's movement abilities that allow you to move further or jump higher or add effects when you move. And every class is going to let you unlock a variety of these different types of abilities. So as you progress, you get to mix and match what you've unlocked with the class that you're in. And with every class that you're learning, there's sort of a kit that it comes with that's baked into it, and then there are all the skills that you learn to grow it as you progress. So it's really interesting. There's a really fine balance. And so when I say you spend a lot of time in the menus, it's strangely a compliment because you really get to fine tune your character. You get to build your character exactly how you want to. And yeah, they give you a lot of freedom.
Yes, and yeah, like I don't want to like spoil any of the job classes, like the later on job classes. So I guess that's good, man. Like to you're spending a lot of time in the menus with this game, and there are several times when I was playing a battle and I kept losing in the battle, and I'd be like, all right, restart the battle, change party formation, and then let me change around some of the party composition. Let me change around. Well, all right, I don't need white magic here plus items. I need to get
Right.
something different going on, and then you're just kind of messing around with it. So I actually really enjoyed the character progression here. It's very in depth, very in depth.
Yes.
Uh,
They've
so
added some great quality of life features too. So they've got new menus, but also you can save loadouts. So if you have a character build that you really like, but you want to keep progressing through job classes, you can save that loadout so that you know you're coming up on a boss. You can go back to that loadout that you know works really well for you while you're switching back to whatever it is that you're trying
oh
to
yeah,
build and level up. Um, they've also added the ability to after you so you move as part of your turn for each character, but you can reset your movement. Like if you move to the wrong tile or
mm-hmm.
something like that, that wasn't in the original. If you move to the wrong space, too bad.
Oh wow,
And yeah, that makes a massive difference because with the 3D element of the battlefield, sometimes it's kind of tricky to tell like, am I positioned correctly to hit this guy? Is he lower or higher elevation or that kind of thing? So it gives you a lot of freedom to sort of test out your move before you lock it in.
that's insane. I actually didn't remember that about the original game because I use that all the time to like
Yeah.
move and then cancel moves,
Yes.
move.
Yep.
So outside of the menus, let's talk about the gameplay in the battle, like the
Yes.
actual battles that are happening. Yeah, like I said, it's isometric top-down diorama style. Um, and it I wish, like I said, man, I wish that Fantasian, like they would have taken inspiration from that and like actually used real diorama for this, because Fantasian was insanely gorgeous with that.
Yeah.
uh but that's just one thing. In fact, it would be amazing if Miss Walker did Final Fantasy Tactics 2 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like give me a new give me a new tactics or something. But with the diorama from Fantasian. But one of the things that and I know this is exactly how it was in the original, I think a quality of life here would have been being able to freely move the 3D diorama around. Um, and I was trying to think about, okay, what is the gameplay reasoning here? I was trying to find the gameplay reasoning. Why am I only able to move it at a certain, 45-degree angles or something? And it's
Right.
just, you're only able to tilt it that you can't freely rotate it around. And I noticed that when it does rotate, it's a fully rendered. It's not like Fantasian in that sense, where that one was taken at like a camera angle here, camera angle there, and then that
Right.
this is like you can
Yeah.
see the nice model, the 3D model there. So I would have liked to have been able to just freely rotate the camera around, get a better angle of what I'm looking at
I
before I
agree.
did the move. Yeah.
Absolutely. I will say a small critique, and this is a critique of the original too.
Yeah.
If you're in a combat situation in, let's say, an urban environment and there are buildings and things like that, or maybe an alleyway or something, if you have a character that goes in there, you're going to be fighting to see where he is exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to be rotating that camera, and there might only be one angle, one available angle, because like Dan said, there's basically four that you can see exactly what you need to, and sometimes it can be frustrating, and it just doesn't seem like it needs to be.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, I couldn't
I
find the
think
game
it,
logic there. Like, why is
yeah,
this the way it is?
right.
But yeah. But outside of that, like the camera fighting the camera, sometimes most of the times it's fine. Most of the time, I'm fine.
Now,
I'm fine with it.
so that is it, keeping true with the original, but they did add something that I think sort of helps get around all of that. Which you can get, you could do a bird's eye of the camera, which basically
Oh
like turns
yeah.
it into a chessboard. You're looking straight down.
Mhm.
So you don't ever really have to fight the rotation, but you don't get the same view of the environment that you would if you had the control that Dan is talking about here. So I mean I agree with you. But they did offer, that is a new feature, that you can do the straight up, just top down view, and see every single piece that way. So every
Yeah.
tile.
And then so it's like I said, it's grid based. We were talking about how different characters are able to navigate that a lot easier. Uh, there's elemental strengths and weaknesses, but not as much as I would have liked that to be. But I think as I'm getting closer to the end game here in this chapter 4, that might be changing. So just a heads up there for the sake of this review in progress. I think that might actually start changing here, where I'm going to have to start contending with the elemental strengths and weaknesses. I'm going to start contending with some things like status ailments, such as like toad and like poison and stuff like that you have to deal with. There are swamps that if you leave your character in the swamp, they get poisoned. So you have to make sure you're not doing that as well. So navigating the actual diorama is part of the strategy as well. So you want to get the angle on the enemy, but you're also like, well, I don't want to also sacrifice the positioning on the map.
Yes.
Really cool.
And positioning matters. Like if you attack
Yes.
an enemy from the front versus the side or the back, you're going to have different rates of parry or counter or whatever it is that they do if they have a reaction ability. So you want to, every move that you make, you're using strategy, right?
Yes. And that's what you want in a tactics game.
Yes. Oh, and Dan, I want to
yeah.
throw out. So there are elemental weaknesses and differences between enemies where it's not obvious. So I was fighting a black mage, and I was using I'm not going to say what character, but I had 3 different elemental attacks that I could do, and I was like, let me just switch between them and see if they're different. And one of the 3 elements did double damage when it shouldn't have made a difference, because this was just a human black mage I was attacking. So it is worth looking at your options sometimes. If you have different elemental options, certain enemies are going to take more damage. So I
Yeah.
don't understand the rhyme or reason for that instance, but I did encounter that.
Which is it's really cool too, because then you can really dive into it. It might have been your Scorpio. What is it called? Your zodiac sign.
Zodiac?
Yeah, your zodiac sign. It could have been that, like where if you're an Aquarius and you go up against an Aquarius, well, you're gonna have a power, like you're gonna do more damage to that Aquarius. They'll do more damage to you. If you're healing an Aquarius and they're like you're an Aquarius, you'll do more healing benefits. It's kind of crazy that they don't tell you that, but you go into they tell you it in the Chronicle. So like if you press the start button, you tab over to Chronicle. It's very much like the State of Valisthea or State of the Realm in Final Fantasy 16. There's a lot of great stuff in that menu where you can get the battle tips, and that battle tips will talk about bravery and faith, things that we didn't talk about in this review yet, but it's like bravery and faith. Bravery is how much damage, physical damage you're doing. Faith is the magical. And you can bring it up, it'll lower if they're not doing anything in battle, so you got to make sure you're managing that. Don't let them get too much bravery though, or faith, because
Why not, Dan?
well,
What happens, Dan?
you informed me. I was texting Wiley back and forth. We're talking about the game as we're playing it, and Wiley says he was like, yeah, you can raise their bravery using an ability from one of the mages, and then you raise the or the faith, and then boom, cool, awesome. He's like, but don't raise it too high, Danny. And I was like, well, why is that? And he's like, well, then they don't believe you anymore. They want to find their own path, and they'll leave you.
Yep.
Like,
if their faith is too high, then they
high.
leave because they don't want to fight anymore. But if they're too brave, hey, they don't need you.
They don't need you anymore. So
Their
like,
bravery's maxed out, man. They're not afraid of nothing.
so the spell is called like praise. So I was like, I got praise on my teammate, and then I got to intimidate him. Like I was like, you're awesome, but you also suck. But you're awesome. But you don't forget you suck too, okay? But and you need me. You still need me. Don't leave. But you're really cool. But yeah, you don't want to get above 95, and that's really hard to do. And I say 95. That's no spoiler because it's right there in the menu for you to know that stuff. But you have to click in and learn that stuff. And speaking of that menu, let's talk about that for just a moment. Is where you go over to the Chronicle tab and you can get the State of the Realm, just like in Final Fantasy 16.
Yes. I
It,
love this edition, man. This is one of the best additions to the game for a game that has a complex, twisty, turny plot like this. You
yeah.
want to be able to go back and review beat for beat for beat, and it gives you this nice little timeline. It gives you pictures and orientations of where the characters are. What city is this taking place in? Who's going where?
Yep.
It's fantastic. Like
Dude.
it's got, yeah, between the visual aids and the summary, it's a really good way to, it's sort of that active lore system, right? From Final Fantasy 16. It's just a
Yes.
good way to keep it all fresh in your mind.
So speaking on that for just a moment, I was a little disappointed that I wasn't able to pause in the middle of a cutscene and do the active time lore, like to like say
Yeah,
who's this
sure.
character, give me like a little information on it. That would have been something really
Mhm.
cool, but that's fine. It's all right there in the Chronicle tab. But yeah, it does borrow that from Final Fantasy 16, bringing that State of the Realm, being able to tab over the timeline. You can also go
Yep.
back and watch all of the cutscenes, so they're all there for you. Like if you want to go revisit a cutscene, you can. And gosh, what else is there? I feel like as far as the gameplay, this is a super enjoyable game. I've been playing it nonstop. It feels like I had to stop for this review in progress, but because
Hey, same, bro.
we we really want to get this one out there for the when the embargo lifts. So we want to be right up there, right with everybody else. And I hope you've enjoyed this, us talking about the game. We are also going to do a spoiler cast in the future. So we're going to dive into this game. Spoilers on the table. We're going to go in. Now the way we do that is going to be up to how you guys receive this and how you want it to be. It can be a full-on spoiler cast, one episode. We talk about everything, or we can do what we did with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth when we went chapter by chapter, and we can do a chapter by chapter analysis and dive into the story, really deep dive into this stuff, and really deep dive into the gameplay and things like that. And Dragoon King will be joining us, and maybe even the Firegrove Fighter will join us for that. So we're not done with tactics by any means. We're gonna really keep diving into it. Now, I think we've talked about pretty much. We've hit all the pillars. We've hit all the pillars. We've hit story, which is top notch, phenomenal. You wanna go out and play this game because it's one of the best Final Fantasy stories, mainline included. We have, and with incredible voice performances over in the audio category. And then over in the visual category, there are some things that I wish that were a little bit better and more like it got the full remake treatment. I can never like say that that's not something that's in the back of my mind playing this, but it does not do any kind of disservice to it.
Yeah, let me say, as a retro gamer, I love it, man.
You
The
love it,
style
yes.
looks, it's so
Clean.
reminiscent of the original style. And I loaded up classic mode just to see the original style so I could compare it side by side. And it's a lot more jagged looking than I remember it. It's a lot more
Yes.
pixelated. So when you go back to the enhanced version, it is so clean, but it's also faithful. So
Very
if you're one of
faithful.
those people that, yeah, if you played it 20 years ago and you want the same experience but better, you're gonna love the way it looks. So personally, I love the way it looks. I understand Dan's position.
Oh, for sure.
I'm very happy with this. So
Yeah, and that's beautiful. That's awesome. It's what we want to hear. So not only is the game, it's clean, the UI is improved, everything looks very, very,
yes,
very clean. So the visuals, I'm not trying to knock it for being something that it's not. So what it is, it is. I think it excels at what it is. There are some tonal shifts there with the visuals and the audio for me when it comes to the story that's being told. Is a very dark, mature story. What you are getting is you're getting that almost borderline rated M. Like this is a very mature
oh
game.
yeah,
You're getting
yeah,
blood. You're getting blood strewn across the floor sometimes. You're getting
yes.
yeah, it is a very mature.
There's Yes, there are mature topics too. Some of them
Yes.
are more insinuated than directly spelled out. So it's, you don't have to hide your kids or anything like that. But
Yeah.
it's there's a lot of adult topics and that kind of thing being handled here. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it not rated M? What is this? What is it
No,
rated?
it's teen.
Teen. Okay.
Teen.
I mean, that just shows you how well they're they're writing this material. So
They got
you'll
more blood and tactics than they didn't have in remake.
than they didn't have in remake. Yes,
Final Fantasy 7 remake. Yeah,
at that scene, and I know which one you're
you know what I'm
talking about because
about,
we're at the. I thought the same thing. I'm like, how did they not?
Yo,
Okay, all right.
They're getting away with some stuff.
Let's move on. Yeah,
they're getting away with some stuff.
But it's cartoon violence,
Yeah.
right? It's cartoon violence, so it's a little bit different. But yeah,
true.
Totally with you on that.
And yeah, as far as the legacy set, I had to said at the top of the show, this game is a 1997 game. It's coming out again in 2025. It's solidified its legacy. Everybody needs to go play this game. So it comes out September 30th. And you can pre-order it now. You can, play it, buy it, and follow along with us, and tune in for the Spoilercast. How's that sound? You good? With closing thoughts, Excalibur?
Man, listen, if you guys want tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff too, tune in to that cast, and we'll get you set up so that when you start this game, you can start like a pro. You can avoid all the stuff that we wasted time doing to learn.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be happy to answer questions and stuff like that, and really dig into really anything that you want to get. So do let us know in the comments.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like if we do the chapter by chapter thing, like for chapter 1, we can literally start it off with like, or even before, we can do like a before thing. Here's your tips and trick guide to get started. Best way to get started. Because I'm definitely lost with like I was lost. I'm learning a lot as I go, but it's like, man, by this final chapter, I'm like, there's a lot of things that I wish I knew when I started. But that's the joy of following. That's the joy of playing the game and like learning it as you go. And then you just go ahead and you do a replay and go again. Don't name the characters after your friends. Okay. That's
just keep a dedicated character that can use Phoenix Downs, because when one of your guys goes down, if you don't get to him in time, like the mechanic is, you basically have 3 rounds that pass for that character, and after that, that's it. So you better that's
permadeath.
So,
they're gone forever.
So if you love your characters, plan accordingly. Okay.
Yes. Plan accordingly. Like I named my characters after my friends, and then like when they go down and if they disappear, I said, nope, that's a wipe. We restart. So not only am I playing on tactician hard mode, I'm adding an extra layer of difficulty by saying nobody dies. Nobody dies.
Yeah, no deaths.
So
I mean, they'll get dropped, but you got to get them back up.
Yeah, they can drop. They just can't they can't disappear and turn into a crystal. Can't let that happen. Oof. Because that's permadeath, man. That's crazy. I love that about this game. You can have lots of guest characters in there. There's even Final Fantasy VII Cloud. That's not a spoiler. Yeah. That's not a spoiler. He's in the game. If you want him, you got to find him. So we're going to keep talking about tactics in future videos, but thank you so much for watching this review. Do your best to share it, like it, subscribe, and all that other stuff. So that way, it supports Final Fan TV. It shows Square Enix that it was worth giving Final Fan TV a code. So that really would mean a lot to us if you just give it a like. Thank you so much for watching this video. Take care now. Bye then.